What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri zone, and welcome back to a new show because Tudor is here. And I think we're all asking the question, how is he going to play? And well, I'm one of those people. So I have some ideas, theories based on what I think Tudor does as a coach. Again, I'm not a tactical and whatever, just purely eye test ish. Based on his time at Lazio, Verona, and Marseille as well, we can assume certain things. However, while I was assuming things, I also came to the realization, that a lot of players will struggle, or he will struggle. That's the question right now because he has 9 games left, not a lot of time to get top 4 and somehow get a tune out of these players, but can he implement his own thing? So I think he wants to do 5 things, but maybe 4 things, whatever. First off, if you watch Tudor, and again, I'm not going to sit here and say I watch Verona every single week. However, I watched quite a lot of Verona, probably more than I'll ever do in my entire life at the time because they play well. He wants an aggressive backline. I will explain that in a second. High press, starting from the top. Compactness, because usually his teams don't get really outplayed, and there's a reason for it, because if they do, well, they are going to concede a lot of goals. We are going to concede a lot of goals. And also he attacks with a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people, and it's not just like the difference in idea compared to Motta is massive. It's direct with Tudor. It's not too many, passes here and there, build. It's very vertical. That's how he wants to play. So again, I have some ideas, but I think there also is a massive issue, which again is the big question mark. How is he gonna resolve that in nine games? Because certain players are not really adaptable to what he wants to do, I think. So before we do that, as always, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk. Okay, so like I said, I think from what I've seen, a coach, he prefers to press, and he prefers pressing, I think, also like man to man. It's intense. Like, it can really, really be intense. Winning the ball back ASAP, setting up the counter or the attack, whatever you want to call it. It's quick transitions. Like, again, he's not a coach who likes the build up from the back, take his time, and all those kind of thing. I think he's more of a coach who wants quick vertical, like really quick. I think Allegri said it 2 years ago or a year ago. That's what his idea was, but it didn't really work out. And get in some sort of groove early on in the game. If you watch the games from Verona and Lazio, that was what he that was kind of a takeaway. Again, that's a picture somebody put out there. I also looked it up on a different metric website. I do not often use, because again, I'm not an analytics guy at all. But if you see the PDA, which sounds insane, as a stat, but that's the aggressiveness of his team. It was less so at Lazio, to be honest, but still it was aggressive, is intense. Winning the ball back is intense. Not giving even if a team has 1,000 touches in our box or around the box, for example, there's no danger in it because we put them under pressure, which doesn't give them the opportunity to build up an attack, get dangerous, so on, so on. So it's an aggressive style of play that we want to do. Also a positive, I think. Again, it depends on the players as well. If you look at the set pieces, which we are absolutely horrible right now, and it starts with taking set pieces. I think that's a massive issue already. So I'm not sure how you're going to fix that, because the set pieces we take, forget about being dangerous. It starts with Eulis, Koopmeiners, all these guys taking horrible set pieces to begin with. But his teams usually are good on set pieces. I think we all talked about it throughout the season that it's not good enough. Last season, it was a big part of our game. This season, it completely disappeared. Like, there's not even a balance in it. It went from kind of top to absolutely flop within a couple of months, basically. Again, look at the things. Like, it's not long balls. It's direct. Again, you can be direct with long balls, but that's not what he tries to do. And just if you look at the stats, he's a coach who wants to put pressure on the opponents. However, the big question is, how is he going to do that with this squad? Because nothing suggests, and when I say nothing, literally nothing suggests that I can sit here and from what I've watched from the first 75% of the season, I can believe that Colt Miners is going to press for 90 minutes. Because when I look at Colt Miners this season, it feels like he didn't play football for 10 years and he came out of retirement. That's how he moves. That's how he walks. Nico Gonzalez, the same thing. I cannot envision these players being aggressive, putting consistent pressure. I don't see it. Like, I will be absolutely stunned if I'm going to see that. Obviously not against Genoa, but there's not much time. So he's going to need to find a balance. He's going to need to, make some, adjustments to his beliefs, because I don't think we are set up to do that, because there's no proof out there that these players are capable of playing with that intense, how do you want to call it? Like intensity. Yeah. Just bring that intensity for 90 minutes. I think it's impossible, because if we try to do that and we cannot keep up with it, which I'll talk in a second, and we leave holes, it's going to be a very long day for us. It's already a long day. It's going to be insane. The way people lose possession, that needs to go. And again, there's no proof out there that this squad is going to turn it around. However, formation-wise, I'm not going to lie, I've seen 10 different formations. Usually what most of the time comes back with Tudor is a back three on paper, whatever. But that's what usually comes back. A 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1, whatever, name it, 3-5-2, a 3-4-2, like 1-2. I've seen it all. Like, I've seen 1,000 projected lineups. However, if he's going to play with a 3 at the back, which I think he prefers to do, one injury, which is going to happen because we've had it all season, and you're back to square one. I don't think we have the squad depth-wise, quality-wise, but especially depth-wise, to play at 3 with the back, because I don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to play Kalulu, Gatti, and Vega? That leaves Kelly, in one injury, and it's one game a week. I get it, but we have so many injuries that I will kind of be stunned, to be honest. However, that's kind of his trademark. 3 at the back, and then it variates, throughout obviously in possession, off possession. But 3 at the back is kind of typical for what he wants to do. He adapted, he changed it up a little bit at Galatasaray. He changed it up at Udinese as well. I think at Udinese was a 3-5-2 more so, to be honest, as well. But the thing that comes back is a back 3. Always. But it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to, come to fruition, basically, because he's a coach. Again, he puts pressure on opponents because he loves to just kind of mess with whatever the other team wants to do, put him off rhythm. His teams usually set up quite high. It's not all over the place. There's a belief behind it, but again, I don't trust these players. That's what I said. It's intense. It's really intense. It's man to man, basically. I know people brought up, because we've been linked with Gasperini, for example. I know people will bring it up, saying, "Oh, it's Gasperini. Is maybe he's the next coach? Is this kind of a, appetizer and whatever?" But it is intense. It really is intense. And when he presses, it's with a lot of players, and it's bringing, I don't know, like your midfielders, whoever's going to play behind Vlahovic, if it's going to be that case. Is it Yildiz? Is it Gonzalez? Is it, I don't know, Colomani? We don't really know that. But again, if it works, you have something going. And again, that's what I said. It's more vibes. It's getting on with it. If you win that ball back consistently high up the pitch, your chances increase, because there are spaces, or like it's different. We all seen that in the past. It happened with Gasperini, at Atalanta as well, and with Motta, we're not doing that. It's kind of slow. And my fear as well is what I brought up in a second. If you start losing possession in certain areas right now, when you press a lot, that's going to be an insanely bad situation for this club, because if you start losing the ball, if you start pressing, with a lot of people, and you don't win the ball back or you lose the ball back, the possibility of you leaving space behind you are massive. Like that's the downside of it. That's why I'm like, 9 games left. I think it's impossible to implement that to a certain extent, because I don't think everyone can be on board. I don't think everybody can be up for it right now. And I think because it's 9 games and because it's 1 point of Bologna, you can also not take too many risks, if that makes kind of sense, because again, we've seen it. If somebody doesn't press, it leaves a hole. But if somebody loses possession, it also leaves a hole. And if you lose possession quickly when you're high up the pitch, we all know what's going to happen. We've seen it already this season. Like we've we've seen it against Fiorentina. Colt Miners loses the ball, Fagioli, quick, boom, and it's gone. It's in. So that's kind of the downside. But if you manage to do that, it's different. That's kind of the question. I've seen Gonzalez lose possession so many times, Colt Miners lose so many times in weird areas where you're like, it's not needed. Like, why are you losing possessions in those kind of areas? So again, that's the risk, basically. That's the risk he's gonna need to take, and he's gonna need to consider, is it worth it or is it not worth it at all? Yildiz. I find that, because we've not learned from it, and I've done it in the past. A new coach comes in, now we're going to see the best of that, and that, those players. It's 9 games. However, Yildiz is going to need to be kind of the X factor of this team if we, want to make it, to whatever we want to do right now, because it's like the technical ability he has should be suited to a team that presses high, gets the ball back, and gets it going really quickly. Not taking 10, 20, 30 touches, is winning a ball back, 1 touch gone. He has all those abilities. He has the movement for it. He has the technical baggage for it. Whatsoever. Like, that's a player, obviously, for me, that's going to need to be an X factor. It's going to be interesting to see where he's going to play him. All the rumors are saying he's going to play behind Vlahovic. But again, if you win the ball back, for example, Atalanta do that as well, and maybe not so much at this moment in time, at this part of the season, but especially in the past, also earlier on in the season as well, when they were playing, was it Real Madrid in the Champions League? If you beat the pressure other teams put on you, and you can move that ball quickly, and you can move certain players, and you can kind of fool other teams to press you, the holes that are open up, are massive. And that's where a player like he comes in. Also Locatelli, because if everything goes to plan the way Tudor wants to do, there should be space for us to play. That's what I'm trying to say. Again, however, I don't trust it. Like, I need to add it. I don't trust these players, because what I've seen is so bad that I cannot envision it turning it around within 9 games. That's crazy, So let's see. Again, we lose possession. You need to win it back quickly, otherwise you are in trouble. If Tudor is going to play the way he's kind of used to play, if you lose possession, it can get sticky. You need to win that ball back. Players like Yildiz or whoever plays behind them, Thuram in midfield, they're going to need to work their asses off, because somebody somehow is going to make a mistake, and then it's up to them to keep up with it, also get back into it. Because again, a player like Thuram should have a very, I think he was already having a good season, but it can get even better if Tudor managed to, do what he wants to do, because with his ability to drive the ball, or McKennie's ability, for example, to run without the ball, it should be a different life for those players, especially for a player like McKennie if he plays. If he plays on the wing, whoever plays on the wing, they're going to need to work extremely hard, So Cambiasso, who's not fit at the moment. I'm not so sure if he's going to keep up with it based on his fitness level. And then the big question, is he going to start Vlahovic, which I think he is going to do. I think Vlahovic will be back to starting games because he absolutely likes him as well. But my big concern is if I'm looking at the squad, the players we have, Conceição, Gonzalez, and like the squad is kind of built for wingers. But if we play in a three, I don't know, like name it 3-4-2-1, 3-4-1-2, whatever, there's no real room for any wingers. You know, like if you play like we play, like we did right now, is it 4-4-2, 4-3-3 most of the times, I guess. It makes more sense to, even if it wasn't working, it's more natural for natural wingers to play. But if you go to a four-man midfield with two behind the strikers, I mean, where are you going to fit in Conceição, especially? Maybe Gonzalez, but in Bangula, you cannot all squeeze them behind the striker, because I don't think, especially Conceição, like that would be an absolute disaster. You know, he's a player who needs space. So it's going to be interesting to see how Tudor is seeing this, how he's going to manage to, you know, whatever. But again, for me, it's aggressive. It's aggressive. It's winning the ball back. It's putting pressure on teams. It's not too many touches. It's vertical. And that's where my problems lie, because I've not seen any of those things. And I don't see how these players are going to be able to kind of pick that up right now. So again, I hope he succeeds, because that means we are kind of succeeding in whatever way you want to put it. But it's a big task for him. That's for certain. So it's going to be interesting. However, let me know in the comments what you think, what type of coach he is, what do you think he wants to bring? Do you believe that he will be able to transmit that to the players, you know? And maybe if you have a potential lineup you want to see, let me know in the comments, and also explain to me why. Because I also believe a lot of people say, I'll play with a back four, which he might do that, especially against Genoa. He might absolutely do that, you know. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm not so sure if that's the way to go, because then you need to step up from your belief a little bit, because it's 9 games and you need to do something to get the results without exposing you too much. But it's so massive part of his game that I'm like, it will kind of hamper you in terms of what you want to do, what you believe, and can you do something else? I've not really seen it. So let me know in the comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will speak to you guys soon. Ciao.